They called us reckless fools, dancing on the edge of fire. But they had never seen what courage looks like when the Earth itself tries to swallow you whole. The alien observers arrived on Earth expecting chaos. They came from the planet Viheris, a world of ice and order where temperature never changed, and risk was outlawed. To them, humans were a paradox, intelligent, yet reckless, fragile, yet fearless. The Viherans had seen archives of humans scaling Everest, diving into ocean trenches, and walking unprotected through storms of lightning just to feel alive. But nothing fascinated them more than humanity's obsession with fire. When they first studied volcanoes, they expected humans to keep a safe distance. The molten rivers of lava, the plumes of choking smoke, the deafening roars from the earth, these should have been enough to keep any rational species away. Yet the humans came closer, always closer. One Viheran scientist, Erixfor, recorded in his field notes, "They approach magma as if it were a god to be understood, not feared. Their protective suits are primitive, their tools inadequate, yet they smile." The Viherans called them reckless, a polite translation for what in their language meant something closer to insanely suicidal curiosity. It wasn't long before a group of human volcanologists invited the Viherans to observe their research at the Kilauea caldera in Hawaii. The aliens accepted, curious to see how these creatures of chaos behaved so near death. Erixfor watched in disbelief as the humans stood on blackened ground that shimmered with heat. Their boots hissed as they stepped across the cooling crust of lava, moving with a strange calm like priests walking on sacred ground. They carried instruments, took samples, even laughed. How Erixfor whispered through his translator. "The ground burns beneath them, their suits are melting at the edges." Dr. Lena Moreau, the expedition leader, simply smiled through her visor. "We respect the volcano, but fear won't teach us anything." Her words were recorded and broadcast across the Viheran science networks, sparking debates that lasted weeks. Some claimed humans lacked the instinct for self-preservation. Others believed they had evolved a strange bond with destruction itself, a biological hunger for the forbidden. But what came next would silence every critic. As night fell, the sky turned crimson with firelight. The volcano began to awaken tremors, then roars, then fountains of molten rock bursting into the sky. The Viherans panicked, retreating to their hovercraft. But the humans didn't run. Instead, Lena and her team advanced toward the glowing edge, their faces illuminated by infernal light. They moved with purpose, not madness, their instruments recording, their voices calm, their steps steady. Then the impossible happened. A thin crust of solidified lava cracked beneath them, and still, they did not scream or flee. The Viherans' thermal sensors recorded temperatures that no living being should endure. Yet the humans walked across molten earth, their silhouettes shimmering through waves of heat, eyes fixed ahead. For a long stunned moment, the aliens could only watch, and in that silence, Erixfor realized something he had never considered before. "Perhaps recklessness," he murmured, "is just another word for courage." Erixfor could not sleep that night. Even aboard the Viheran research vessel hovering high above the caldera, the images replayed in his mind, the humans, walking calmly across the glowing earth, the volcano raging beneath their feet. Every law of thermodynamics screamed that they should have died. Yet, there they stood alive, deliberate, almost serene. He replayed the footage frame by frame. Infrared readings, 1150 degrees Celsius, suit tolerance, 400 degrees maximum heart rates, stable, conclusion, impossible. Still the evidence was there. "Humans cannot withstand that temperature," he told his superior Scholavir, unless he hesitated. "Unless they've learned something we haven't." Scholavir's crystalline eyes narrowed. "You believe they have altered themselves?" "I don't know," Erix admitted, "but I must understand." The next morning, the ash had settled into a dark mist that smelled of sulfur and birth, the scent of new earth. The human camp was still there, battered but standing. Lena Moreau and her team were analyzing samples as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Erix descended alone, curiosity outweighing protocol. When he approached, Lena greeted him with that same impossible calm. Her eyes, dark and tired, carried a light he could not define. "You came back," she said. "I thought you'd left." "I should have," he replied. "But your people you did not burn." Lena chuckled softly. "We never do, not right away." Erix tilted his head. "Explain." She gestured toward the lava field, now cooled into a rippling black plain streaked with fire veins. "The heat is not what kills, it's the panic. When fear takes over, your body betrays you, your breathing shortens, your focus narrows. But if you understand the rhythm of the volcano, if you listen, you can move where the crust holds. It's not walking on fire," she said. "It's walking with it." Her words resonated with something Eric's did not recognize, a philosophy foreign to his people. The Viarans conquered their world by controlling every variable, but these humans, they survived by surrendering to chaos. He followed her across the cooling lava. Each step sank slightly into the earth's warmth, heat shimmering around them like a living veil. You risk everything for knowledge, Eric said. Lena smiled. We risk everything because we have to. The planet that gives us life also threatens to take it back. That's what keeps us humble. Eric paused, scanning her body with his sensors again. There was no hidden tech, no heat-shielding implants, no trick, only human will, raw and unflinching. You call us reckless, she continued, but maybe it's not recklessness. Maybe it's faith in ourselves, in the world, in the idea that if we step into the unknown, it might just hold us up. That night, Eric watched as the humans held a small ceremony by the crater's edge. No religion, no ritual words, just quiet awe. They poured a vial of water into the lava, watching it hiss and vanish in a burst of steam. Lena turned to him. Every time we come here, we give something back. The Earth doesn't belong to us, we're just borrowing time. The Viaran recorded that phrase and sent it to his network. Within hours it spread across interstellar channels, igniting wonder and doubt across countless minds. Perhaps humanity wasn't reckless after all. Perhaps they were the only species brave enough to make peace with destruction. But the next eruption would change everything. The tremors began just before dawn. At first, a soft rumble, like the earth murmuring in its sleep. Then a roar that tore through the camp, shaking tents, toppling instruments, and sending shockwaves into the air. Eric's four stumbled out of his shelter, lenses adjusting to the sudden glare. The volcano's summit glowed like an open wound. Rivers of fire burst from cracks that hadn't existed the night before. The humans didn't panic. They moved fast but methodical, gathering data, securing samples, shouting coordinates through the coms. Seismic patterns changing. One of them yelled, "It's not just venting, it's rising. Rising." That word chilled Eric's. In Viaharan logic, nature was predictable, but this planet was alive, angry, maybe even conscious. The air grew hotter by the second, the ground trembling like a creature in pain. Eric's instruments began to fail, sensors overloading with impossible readings. He turned to Lena, who stood at the crater's edge, eyes fixed on the growing plume of fire. "You have to evacuate," he shouted, but she didn't move. "This is what we came for," she said softly, voice steady even as molten rock exploded behind her. "To witness the heart of creation." The words made no sense to Eric's, yet something in her tone froze him. There was reverence there, not fear. She wasn't watching destruction, she was watching birth. Within minutes, the volcano erupted in full force. The Viaran craft rose into the sky, hovering at a safe altitude. From above, Eric saw the humans' small figures outlined against oceans of fire. They moved in pairs, laying metallic rods into the ground. It took Eric several seconds to realize they weren't retreating. They were conducting an experiment. Data poured into his feed. Temperature spikes, electromagnetic surges, seismic harmonics, the pattern. It was deliberate. The rods weren't just measuring, they were resonating, emitting low-frequency pulses that rippled through the lava field. "What are they doing?" Via demanded through the comlink. Eric could only whisper, "They're communicating." On the surface, Lena stood in the middle of the inferno, her team forming a circle around her. "Kilauea's heartbeat is irregular," she said through the radio. "If we can match its rhythm, maybe we can calm it like a singer matching a trembling note." Eric's mind reeled. "You're trying to soothe a volcano." "Not soothe," she corrected. "Understand. It's not just rock and fire, it's memory." The circle began to hum, low, deep, human voices joining in harmony with the vibration of the earth. The frequency stabilized. The flows of lava slowed, briefly pulsing in time with the sound. For 20 impossible seconds, it seemed to work. Then the mountain screamed. The sound was unlike anything Eric had ever heard, a low, thunderous wail that tore through the clouds. The volcano erupted again, brighter and angrier. One of the humans fell, another dragged them out of the path of a burning flow. Eric wanted to intervene, to send rescue drones, but Lena's voice came through the static, calm and unyielding. "Don't interfere, this is ours to face." He watched in awe as the humans continued to stand their ground, the air glowing red, the sky filled with ash and lightning. They didn't fight the fire, they danced with it. Every movement, every heartbeat seemed to mirror the volcano's rage. And then, impossibly, the eruption began to subside. The streams slowed, the roaring ceased. The mountain quieted as if exhaling after centuries of fury. When the smoke cleared, Eric saw Lena standing in the center of the cooling plain, her body outlined by fading embers. She lifted her head toward the sky. "She's asleep again," Lena whispered. We listened long enough for her to hear us. Back aboard the Viharan ship, silence reigned. No one spoke. For the first time in recorded Viharan history, an alien world had defied their understanding not through technology, but through faith. Eric turned to his colleagues and said quietly, "They call this species reckless. I think we've just seen the universe's bravest act of empathy." But far below, the volcano's heart still pulsed faintly as if waiting. 3 days passed. The eruption had subsided, but something strange lingered in the air. A resonance, a faint vibration that hummed through the volcanic plains even when the wind was still. The humans had returned to their camp, repairing equipment, logging readings, tending to burns and bruises. But none of them spoke much. Eric's four remained among them, still processing what he had seen. He had reviewed every second of data, thermal readings, seismic frequencies, electromagnetic fluctuations, yet nothing explained how the humans had survived, or how the volcano's fury had calmed as if soothed by their song. He approached Lena as she stood alone at the crater's edge, watching molten rivers glow faintly in the distance. The light reflected in her eyes like twin suns. "You spoke to it," Eric said quietly, "and it answered." She didn't turn. "We didn't speak," she murmured. "We listened." That night, Eric noticed something else. The humans, all of them, had a faint red shimmer beneath their skin when viewed through his sensors, a biothermal glow that pulsed faintly, as if something within them resonated with the Earth's frequency. He scanned his own body for comparison. Nothing. The difference was undeniable. He brought this to Lena's attention the next morning. She smiled knowingly. "You noticed it, huh? What is it?" "Residual resonance," she said. "We've been studying this phenomenon for years. When you get close enough to the mantle, something happens. The body adapts. It starts to mirror the Earth's magnetic field, heart rate, cellular vibration, everything. It's like we sync with it." Eric tilted his head. "You're saying your biology changes?" "Temporarily," she replied. "It fades after a few days. But for that moment, we're part of the planet's rhythm." He stared at her, astonished. "You merge with the volcano." She laughed softly. "That's one way to put it." The revelation shook Eric to his core. On Viharis, every aspect of life was controlled: climate, emotion, even thought frequency. To merge with chaos was unthinkable. Yet here were these fragile beings, dancing with death, reshaping themselves to survive it. He watched them more closely now. Their movements, once erratic to his eyes, began to reveal a pattern, a kind of fluid harmony. The way they stepped over the cracked crust, the way their breaths aligned when they worked near lava flows. They weren't resisting nature, they were moving with it. That realization was both beautiful and terrifying. Later that evening, the camp gathered by the crater. The Viharans had finished their analyses, but Eric stayed. He wanted to understand what drove these humans, what burned inside them brighter than any star. Lena stood before the team, her face illuminated by the soft, molten glow. "You all know the risks," she said. "The next eruption could come in hours or years. But we came here for a reason, not just to study the volcano, but to remember what it means to feel small. The Earth doesn't need us, it tolerates us, and if we forget that, we lose everything." Eric felt those words pierce through the rigid logic of his upbringing. To feel small on Viharis, that was a weakness. On Earth, it was wisdom. He realized then that humans weren't reckless because they loved danger. They were reckless because they loved understanding, because they believed that even in the face of annihilation, knowledge and connection were worth the risk. But as dawn rose over the smoking horizon, Eric detected something new in the volcano's readings. Deep within the magma chamber, beneath kilometers of rock, a pulse, rhythmic, deliberate, alive. It wasn't random seismic activity. It was a signal, and it was answering back. Eric froze as the data scrolled across his screen. Frequency match, human heartbeat, amplitude. Rising, he looked toward Lena, still standing on the edge of the crater. The molten glow beneath her seemed to throb in time with her pulse. Something had changed, not just in the humans but in the volcano itself. At dawn, the sky above Kilauea burned gold, not from sunlight, but from something deeper, redder, pulsing like a living wound. Eric's four's instruments blazed with warnings: magnetic field fluctuations, seismic harmonics, bioenergy, resonance, spikes, all centered on one location, the caldera where Lena stood. He ran toward her through the ash field, the ground trembling beneath each step. The air shimmered with heat that seemed almost alive, bending light like rippling water. When he reached the ridge, he saw her arms at her sides, face turned toward the crater, the glow beneath her skin brighter than before. "Lena," Eric's called, his voice cracking through the translator. "Your vitals are unstable. You must withdraw." But she didn't move. She was breathing slowly, steadily, as if in meditation. Then she spoke, not through the comlink but through the air itself. Her voice vibrated in the air around him, resonant, almost harmonic. "Do you hear it, Eric's? It's calling us back." The volcano wasn't erupting this time, it was pulsing. Slow, rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing through the mantle. Eric switched his sensors to low frequency. The readings made no sense. Pattern recognized. Synchronized oscillation. Source unknown, biological. The volcano was mirroring Lena's vital signs. He realized it then, the resonance from their last experiment hadn't faded. It had imprinted itself into the magma chamber. The volcano had learned their frequency. Now it was responding. The other scientists gathered behind Eric's, fear and wonder in their faces. "She's too close," one of them shouted. But before anyone could act, the ground beneath Lena cracked open, glowing from within. Lava spilled out, not in chaos, but in waves, circling around her in perfect geometric arcs. The heat sensors maxed out, yet she didn't burn. The molten rock flowed around her feet like liquid light, never touching, never consuming. Eric stepped forward, shielding his eyes from the glare. "Lena, you're merging frequencies with the mantle. If you keep this up." She opened her eyes. They glowed amber red, reflecting the inferno. "I know," she whispered, "but it's not trying to kill us. It's learning." Her voice broke slightly. "We woke it, Eric's. The volcano isn't just pressure and heat, it's memory. Every eruption, every flow, it remembers the ones who came before. Every human who stood here, every offering, every step across the fire. We left our echo in it." The ground rumbled again, stronger this time. Lava geysers shot into the air, forming spirals that defied gravity. Eric's sensors overloaded with data, magnetic storms, gravitational distortions, neural pattern spikes. The volcano wasn't reacting randomly, it was communicating. He activated a resonance scanner and nearly dropped it when the readings formed a waveform that matched a human heartbeat perfectly, but not Lena's. It matched the collective average of every human heartbeat recorded in the camp. The mountain was alive, and it was speaking in their pulse. Lena turned to the team. "If this is consciousness," she said softly, "then we owe it the truth of what we are." She removed her heat shield and walked closer to the rim, hair whipping in the scorching wind. Eric's reached out in panic. "Lena, stop." But she shook her head. Her voice rose over the roar of the magma. "We came here seeking knowledge, not dominion. We came to learn, not to conquer. And if you've listened long enough to find our rhythm, then maybe, just maybe, you've seen our hearts too." For a moment, everything went still. Then, a pulse, deep, resonant, warm, rolled through the ground. The lava receded slightly, cooling in concentric rings around her feet. The volcano exhaled a cloud of luminous gas that shimmered like an aurora. Eric's readings stabilized, temperature falling, pressure equalizing. The mountain had answered. Lena collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, her skin still glowing faintly. Eric's ran to her, catching her before she fell. Her heartbeat was slow but steady, synchronized perfectly with the rhythm beneath the ground. "You did it," Eric's whispered, unable to believe it. She smiled faintly. "We did it. You just had to listen." For the first time in Viharan history, Eric sent a transmission not of data, but of emotion. "The humans have merged with the heartbeat of a planet," he wrote. "They are not conquerors of worlds, they are their interpreters." But far beneath the mountain, beyond reach of sensors or science, something vast shifted as if an ancient presence had stirred and remembered humanity's touch, and it was not done with them yet. For 2 days, the volcano slept. Ash settled like dark snow over the blackened plain. The wind quieted. The molten rivers cooled to obsidian veins that gleamed faintly under the morning sun. The humans moved carefully, speaking in whispers, as if afraid to wake something ancient again. Lena Moreau remained weak but alive. The glow beneath her skin had faded to a faint warmth, pulsing softly like the dying ember of a star. Eric's force stayed beside her, monitoring her vitals. Though he knew no machine could explain what had happened, the readings still defied logic, fluctuating by resonance, electromagnetic harmonics, molecular stability beyond known limits. The Viharan delegation was growing restless. Skolavir demanded that Eric's return to orbit, insisting that further exposure to human anomalies risked contamination. But Eric's refused. He had seen too much. That night, Lena awoke suddenly, eyes wide, breath sharp. "Eric's," she whispered, "do you hear it?" He listened, and for the first time, he did. A low, steady hum beneath the surface, not mechanical, alive. It's still there, she said. It's quieter now, but it hasn't gone. It's watching. Eric's adjusted his sensors. Deep within the crust, miles below, a rhythmic pulse continued, faint, but distinct. Frequency, 1.0 Hz match, human cardiac baseline. The volcano's heart still beat in time with theirs. As dawn broke, Lena insisted on one final expedition, a journey down into one of the lava tubes, where cooled channels led into the mountain's interior. The team objected, but she was unyielding. If it's truly alive, she said, we owe it a goodbye. Eric's joined her, against orders. Together they descended into the earth. The walls glowed with dim warmth, streaks of mineral veins pulsing faintly like capillaries of molten light. The air shimmered, heavy with heat and memory. Every footstep echoed like a heartbeat. They walked until the tunnel widened into a vast chamber. At its center lay something neither had expected. A crystal formation, translucent and enormous, half buried in the rock. Inside it glowed a slow, steady light, red, gold, and deep orange, shifting like magma caught in glass. Lena approached slowly, awe softening her face. This is it, she breathed. The core. Eric scanned it, but his instruments went wild, readings jumping between energy and biological markers. It's both mineral and organic, he murmured. Impossible. Not impossible, she said softly. Evolving. Without thinking, Lena placed her hand on the crystal. Instantly the chamber filled with light. The glow surged, enveloping them both. Eric fell to his knees as visions cascaded through his mind, not images, but sensations. Fire, oceans, storms, forests, cities rising and falling, billions of human lives flashing through time. The mountain was showing them the memory of Earth itself, every eruption, every extinction, every rebirth, and threaded through it all, humanity. Their footprints on ash, their voices echoing in stone, their courage and their arrogance intertwined like roots and flame. The volcano's consciousness spoke, not in words, but in feeling. You are not apart from me, you are my continuation. Lena trembled, tears streaking down her ash-covered face. It remembers us, she whispered. Everyone who's ever stood here. We thought we were studying it, but it's been studying us all along. Eric could barely breathe. What does it want? Her gaze turned toward the glowing heart, to remind us that we're part of the same story. The light dimmed slowly. The crystal cooled. When it finally went dark, Lena collapsed, her hand still resting on the surface. Eric caught her, scanning desperately, her pulse faint, her body temperature dangerously high. He carried her back to the surface through the tunnels as the earth rumbled softly around them, not in anger, but in farewell. When they emerged into daylight, the team rushed forward. The volcano was calm again, silent, tranquil, its crater releasing only gentle ribbons of steam. Lena's eyes opened weakly. Did it stop? Eric nodded. It's resting. She smiled faintly. Then so can we. And with that she closed her eyes, not gone, but changed. Her body cooled, the glow beneath her skin fading entirely. Yet when Eric placed his scanner against her hand, a faint hum remained, a resonance identical to the volcano's pulse. The two frequencies were one. Years later, Eric would write his final report for the Vioran Science Council. It would become one of the most read transmissions in the history of interstellar exploration. Humans, he wrote, are not reckless, they are fire-given consciousness. They do not merely survive chaos, they become part of it, and in doing so, they teach the universe that courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to step forward while it burns beneath you. He closed his report with a single line, a human phrase Lena once said beside the crater. We do not walk on fire, we walk with it. And on quiet nights, aboard his ship, Eric would sometimes swear he could still hear it, that same faint heartbeat from far below the stars, the pulse of a sleeping giant, and of the species who dared to listen.